In this video, I'm going to share the 5 major ways that you can pay for your retirement. That's right, pay your expenses in retirement. I'll also share my personal favorite way to pay for retirement expenses, so make sure you stay tuned to the end. A retirement study from Zeti showed that people fear retirement as much as they fear death. That's a really revealing fact there. So what was the biggest fear, though, about retirement? Was it getting bored? Was it losing your identity? What was it? It was about not having income, a lack of income in retirement to pay for retirement expenses. That makes a lot of sense. I personally think this fear is exacerbated by the constant promotion of traditional retirement planning that is based solely on gradually spending down your lifetime retirement savings with annual withdrawals of around 4% or so. I've done several videos about that 4%. I've explained this calculation in more detail in my How Much Do You Need to Retire Formula video, which you can see here if you're not familiar with this formula, or you're not familiar with the traditional method of calculating how much you need to retire. It's something that I think everyone needs to know, and then if they want to tweak their retirement plan after they have that number, then they can, and there's a lot of different ways that you can do that, and I'll talk about that in other videos. But in this video, I want to tell you the 5 main ways that you can pay for retirement expenses. My How to Retire When You Want program also steps you through this calculation with a lot more detail and handouts and all that. So I'll put a link under the video in the More section. Just click More and you can see that program and see if it interests you. The reality is most people just haven't saved enough money to pay for retirement living by making withdrawals from their account. Even if they have, it just feels wrong to spend down our hard-earned savings, knowing that we can run out of money if we live longer than we thought we would, or if we don't time things right, or if the market doesn't perform in a way that gives us the investment returns that we need in order to have enough money to live. So let's explore what else there is besides that traditional retirement plan. Because the truth is, the economic environment and the Federal Reserve actions are what drive our investment returns and the price of our investments, our assets. And these things are completely beyond our control. So it's no wonder that people fear not being able to pay their expenses in retirement after that nice steady income ceases. Okay, so I want to mention that in this video, I'll share information about how to pay for retirement expenses after having stumbled into early retirement myself. While I'm an accredited financial counselor, most of what I'm sharing here is what I've learned from the School of Hard Knocks by investing for just about, over 40 years now. And I've owned and bought just about everything at some point. I've invested in just about everything at some point over those past 40 years. And I've done this both alone, myself, by implementing my own investment strategies, and I've also worked with financial advisors that have invested money for me in the past. I personally invest now myself, but in the past I've used a number of different financial advisors. I'll go ahead and say that some of the information in this video is going to seem really obvious if you've done some retirement planning, but everyone hasn't. My intention, though, even if you have done retirement planning, it's to inspire you to look beyond that traditional investment and the prevailing, really, I would say, limiting beliefs and even incorrect information that's out there about retirement finances. So let's get right into the 5 ways that you can pay your expenses in retirement. The first way, it's going to be one of those obvious ways that everyone says, so I sort of hate to say it, but I'm going to tell you why I'm saying it and why it's super important, and that's Social Security. I won't spend a lot of time here, but I will emphasize that you can influence the amount you receive from Social Security with some insightful research on your part and some planning. It can really, really make a huge difference in how much Social Security income you get. And it's free money. You just have to work it a little bit to figure out how to maximize it based on your own life expectancy, your spouse if you're married, about other factors, about how much income you have now versus later, et cetera, et cetera. So I found the Social Security situation analysis complex, and I really love to analyze financial strategies and investments. I called the Social Security department and I even got some incorrect information about it once, and I said, that's it. I don't have confidence in deciding when to begin Social Security benefits. What I've learned is when I don't feel confident about something that's financial related, I need to learn more about it or I need to hire an expert. So I hired a Social Security consultant for half an hour. It was a game changer. This was money that was extremely well spent, since we were talking about thousands and thousands of dollars here over the next few decades, hopefully, God willing. So if you're interested in learning how you can increase your Social Security benefits, please let me know in the comments. If enough of you are interested in it, I'll line up an interview with the Social Security consultant that I hired or another one that can provide some insight on this, because boy, I found it really, really confusing. Okay, so that's the first way that you can pay for retirement expenses after starting at 62 and beyond. Although I waited, and again, I won't go down that rabbit hole right now in this video. I just want to present that as one of the ways that we pay for, and we all can eventually, ideally, pay for retirement expenses. Okay. The next way that you can pay for retirement expenses is by making withdrawals from savings. This is based on how the traditional retirement plan works. It's withdrawing that 4%, 3 to 5% really, but 4% is the most popular amount. And you withdraw that amount every year to live, and then you adjust that amount every year for inflation. So you can imagine how problematic, though, that can be, because if inflation gets high again, then those withdrawals are going to have to be so much larger than they are in the first year that you're retired. And if you just take 4% of your retirement savings right now and think about that increasing every year, well, that can be a scary thing. Okay, so far we've got Social Security to pay for your retirement expenses, and we've got making withdrawals from your retirement savings. You're going to hear that everywhere, right? You already knew that. You didn't need for me to tell you that, but hopefully I gave you a little bit of insight about that. Okay, so let's dig into a little more meat. The third way to pay for retirement expenses is for someone like me that really didn't want to pay for their expenses in retirement from their retirement savings. Those retirement savings were just too hard to build up, to let go of, to pay bills. Ugh. Okay, so this third approach for paying retirement expenses is my favorite method. It's kind of obvious, again, like the other ones, but it's just not part of traditional retirement planning. You hear very little about it unless it's someone promoting some one method of being able to, live in financial independence. But even so, related to retirement specifically, you don't hear as much about it, certainly from financial advisors, because it's outside of the realm of financial advisor expertise usually. Financial advisors focus on stocks and bonds and that type of investment. While I love liquid assets like stocks and bonds, love them, the income is really limited for most stocks and bonds given the amount of capital that's required. So this third method is just to buy assets that generate income for retirement expenses. It's a shift from thinking I've got to get by with Social Security and making retirement withdrawals. It's thinking I'm going to have assets that pay me income while I own them. Now, these assets can be anything from small businesses to farmland to real estate rental properties. There are so many different things you can do now in the way of buying assets that will generate income. You can even focus your portfolio on publicly traded investments that pay good income, like something like REITs or something like high-yielding debt and high dividend stocks, for example. Many retired stock investors sell covered calls on long-time stock holdings for income, which I talk about in more detail in another video. You can check that video out here. I've personally invested in real estate rental properties and small business over the years, and I can say that my favorite of these two income generating assets is rental properties. I can say that in hindsight. But again, there are many, many ways you can buy income generating assets that pay your bills, that pay your expenses in retirement. It's not just making retirement withdrawals and relying on Social Security. I do feel it's really, really important for me to emphasize here, I am not in any way suggesting you purchase anything I talk about here. I personally make investment decisions based on thorough, very thorough analysis at any given time. So it might be that real estate doesn't make sense at all right now, or stocks don't make sense. I look at what's going on for any opportunity at any given time. And I also consider our own financial situation, our own financial plan. What do we want? What are we working toward? I suggest that everyone do the same, either on their own or with a financial advisor after gaining a very good understanding of how investing works. Whether or not you hire a financial advisor, understand how investing works first so you can hire that person if you choose to do that. Most asset classes are overvalued as of this recording, so I feel like it's especially important for me to emphasize. I'm not suggesting you go buy real estate or stocks. They're both overvalued right now. And I personally can't help but feel like a serious bear market is looming, which is, I guess, another reason I really love real estate rental properties, because there's capital gain potential when purchased right. And they also can pay income while you own them. Okay, so number 4, the next method for paying for expenses in retirement is with an insurance product like an annuity. I personally don't own an annuity now because my investing methodology has changed over the years. Although I have owned an annuity in the past, it was more of a tax beneficial strategy, really, and I had an opportunity during a low income year to cash in that annuity and do something better with that money, and so I did that. I don't own an annuity now. I do want to mention an annuity as a way to pay retirement expenses, though, because a lot of people do purchase an annuity given the predictable returns, and also there's some sort of liability protection with an annuity policy as I understand it. I'm not an insurance expert at all. So please, again, don't think I'm suggesting you purchase an annuity. I'm simply pointing out that this is a common retirement investment to use to pay those bills in retirement instead of using those retirement withdrawals. Okay, so the 5th method for paying for retirement expenses is the combo method. I also love this method because it allows for a bit of flexibility and diversification. The reality is there are times when some investments do well and other investments don't do well. There are some times when financial strategies work and they don't work. So if you have multiple ways that you can pay your expenses in retirement, you're much more likely to be able to pay them at all times through various economic times. So remember, above all, retire certain. It's a big step.